Cedar Point offers the best overall collection of roller coasters on the planet. And as good as Cedar Point really is, there are some ways to make it even better, and here are 5 things that the park can do, in my opinion, to make it even better. I'm going to bring up the 5 areas that the park, in my opinion, could improve the most, including the water park. Starting off with, the very first thing that I would do is work on the pricing structure for the park. And what I mean by that is currently for 2024, it's going to cost you just $49.99 to get in for the day. That's $50. Now, some of you might think that's a lot of money, and I get that and I respect that. However, when you have Cedar Point, a top tier theme amusement park in the entire world, charging only $50 to get in, plus all the employees that it takes to operate the park, as well as house the employees and everything else, all the money that goes into operating the park on a daily basis, $50 a day is nothing compared to the value that you get. For example, let's take a look at Silver Dollar City and Dollywood. Both of those parks offer value, in my opinion, just as much as Cedar Point does as far as what you get for the money that you spent. And those parks charge around $90 a day to get in. That's pretty steep. However, when you compare that to Florida, it's nowhere near the price of those parks. So obviously a lot of it's demand and everything else, but in my opinion, Cedar Point should charge a minimum of $75 per day to get in. This will do a few things. One, obviously make the park more money, which is great for every aspect of a theme park because that means newer attractions as well as more money spent on them, hopefully a friendlier and happier staff and more competitive pay and a bunch of other things. But another side of that is it's going to really hopefully eliminate a lot of the problems that the regional theme parks are having, more so than the Dollywood, Silver Dollar Cities, Universal, Disney, etc. And that is fighting at the park. These rowdy, most of the time teenagers, and if you're a teenager, I'm not trying to say you're the problem. I'm saying select teenagers are, going in the parks and causing ruckus, fighting, stealing, etc. No wonder why pretty much every Cedar Fair park except Cedar Point, and I believe one other one, has a chaperone policy, which honestly is just unfortunate. But again, at the time we live in right now, I get it. So if Cedar Point would raise the prices a little bit more, I really feel like that's going to bring in a better overall crowd, more money for the park, and I do not think attendance would suffer much at all from that move. And obviously, if you increase the price of the daily ticket, the season pass pricing would go up a little bit more, maybe $30, $40, $50 at the most. Again, just trying to weed out the people that come in there and treat the park as if it's just a school playground and they want to go get in a fight. Now let's talk about the real fun things that I have planned for Cedar Point, because this next one is really important for the overall development of the park, and that is I would look into adding a water coaster to Cedar Point Shores. Now, Cedar Point's water park is average at best. I've been there before, it's okay. They don't really have any standout attractions. I will say that adding a water coaster, and I don't understand why Cedar Fair does not like to add water coasters to their parks, because obviously that's like the biggest trend and best attraction a water park could get, but we've yet to see it. I know they added one at Castaway Bay, the indoor water park, just off of Cedar Point, but that was a long time ago. But just imagine a 4 or 5 person raft water coaster for Cedar Point Shores. That would really get a lot more people to the park, as well as they obviously have the room to build something like this. And I would also like to see a brand new multi-raft slide with the Pro Slide saucer elements on it. These are really popular in the water park industry right now, and they are a ton of fun. So I'll definitely add 2 attractions to Cedar Point Shores, a brand new water coaster, as well as a brand new 2 slide, maybe 3 slide at most. Now things are about to get juicy, because then I would look at removing all of Kiddie Kingdom. This area has been here for decades, and it feels like it's decades old. It's just time. Cedar Point, please remove all these kiddie rides that are really old. You can save the best ones. I'm talking like the top 2, maybe 3, and relocate them to somewhere else in the park. But overall, this area is prime real estate. it's one of the first areas that people see when they walk into Cedar Point. And now that the whole boardwalk is all brand new and looks really great, you just have to kind of go through this eyesore just to get to the nicest area of Cedar Point. So if I was in charge of Cedar Point, I would remove all these rides and replace it with a brand new GCI wooden twister coaster. Something like this would just fit the whole boardwalk feel perfectly, and it would look really cool as you walk into Cedar Point and you see a traditional wooden coaster off to your left with Blue Streak, and then the brand new one, maybe around 120, 130 foot tall, right here in the center of the whole boardwalk area, really making that area just more complete in my opinion. Plus, walking down the main midway, it would look really cool to see the wooden coasters first drop off to your right. In my opinion, the coaster type that Cedar Point lacks the most is a traditional wooden twister coaster. And GCI obviously makes the best ones, and Cedar Fair loves working with GCI. So hopefully, down the road, this is something that would actually happen, because I feel as if it would be so beneficial for Cedar Point and its visitors for this type of ride to be located in the Kiddie Kingdom area. Now this next one kind of ties in with Kiddie Kingdom. That's because I would take the best of those rides and relocate them, as well as add a few new ones onto Millennium Island. As you know, this area used to be home to the Forbidden Frontier attraction, so it does already kind of feel like Camp Snoopy theme-wise. So all Cedar Point would have to do is build a bridge over to this island, add a few of the kid rides underneath Millennium Force, which would be great news for all of us, because if this would happen, we would then get great views of Millennium Force from the island yet again. But that is not all, because I would actually add another bridge to connect Frontier Trail with this brand new Camp Snoopy expansion. That way, if you want to go from Frontier Trail over to Gemini, all you have to do is walk through the brand new expanded Camp Snoopy. I really feel like this is a win-win for the park as well as everyone involved, because honestly, let's get real here. As much as I would love to see a new coaster on Millennium Island, it's going to be really hard to build one interacting with Millennium Force. Now before I get to the best and final thing that I would change about Cedar Point, if you're planning on visiting Cedar Point or any other theme park this year, then you have to check out keepridingcoasters.com for comfortable and affordable coaster merch, just like my Dragster shirt I'm wearing right now. I really do love seeing all these shirts being worn at parks all across the country, and I just want to say thank you. Now let's talk about the biggest change that I would make for Cedar Point, and that is simply probably going to be the easiest one. This area right here is the old dorm site, and obviously this area is now vacant. So what I would do is I would add a brand new roller coaster to this piece of land, and I really feel like this is the area that Cedar Point could really benefit the most, besides Kiddie Kingdom area, for a new coaster, because the whole Iron Dragon Midway just feels kind of like underwhelming, because Wildcat's not there anymore, and that's really all it is the train station and Iron Dragon. So just imagine if the new coaster station's right there on the left hand side as you're walking towards Millennium Force, and this new coaster could easily go over the perimeter road and have this whole entire area to work with. As for what coaster, I've said in past videos, and I feel like it's the best option besides the wooden coaster for Cedar Point is a Mach Extreme Spinner. Just imagine Cedar Point's coaster lineup with a new GCI plus Top Thrill 2 and then a Mach Extreme Spinner. That's top notch, and realistically it's not that expensive because the wooden coaster would probably cost around $10 to $12 million, and then of course the Mach Extreme Spinner would be upwards around 20 to 25 or so. But instead of building two massive B&Ms or massive new coasters, the wooden coaster is always going to be a little cheaper. Now, if you're like me and you ever wondered where exactly Cedar Point could build a brand new 500 foot tall coaster, then this video right here is just for you, because I go over the best locations in the park as far as where Cedar Point could build this type of coaster. So now that you know the 5 ways that I would change Cedar Point if I was in charge, please share with me your 5 ways. With that being said, thank you so much for watching. Remember to smile today, think positive, and keep riding coasters.